have breaking news right now. Malaysia Airlines confirms it has lost contact with a plane carrying 227 passengers and 12 crew members.
Somewhere in the southern Indian Ocean, 3,800 meters below the surface, a robot the size of a small car is gliding through total darkness. Its sonar sweeps the seabed in methodical arcs, painting a three-dimensional map of a world no human eye has ever seen. The machine belongs to Ocean Infinity. The target is Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. And in the last few weeks, something changed. The drone stopped scanning new ground and started circling the same patch of ocean floor over and over again, in a pattern that veteran deep-sea analysts say means only one thing. It found something.
New lead in the decade-long search for MH370 this morning, with a fresh report now indicating its final resting place could be northwest of Perth.
What happens next could shatter a decade of silence, and not everyone wants that silence broken. Someone turned it off. March 8th, 2014, just after midnight. Kuala Lumpur International Airport, Malaysia Airlines. Flight 370 pushes back from the gate, bound for Beijing. A routine red-eye, a Boeing 777-200ER, one of the most dependable wide-body aircraft ever manufactured. Captain Zaharieh Ahmad Shah at the controls, 18,000 flight hours behind him. First Officer Fariq Abdul Hamid beside him, completing his transition training on the 777. In the cabin, 227 passengers, families heading home, business travelers, 23 employees of Freescale Semiconductor, a Texas-based defense contractor whose presence on that manifest would fuel years of dark speculation, and two men traveling on stolen Austrian passports, later identified as Iranian nationals seeking asylum, not operatives, though the damage to the narrative was already done. At 1:19 a.m., Captain Shah radioed air traffic control one final time. "Good night, Malaysian 370. Calm, professional, ordinary." That six-word transmission has been analyzed thousands of times since. Linguists searched for vocal stress. Psychologists hunted for micro-hesitations. They found nothing. 2 minutes later, the transponder stopped. Here's the thing. Transponders do not malfunction silently. They do not flicker off from turbulence. Someone turned it off, deliberately. And the aircraft did not crash. It turned. Malaysian military radar tracked the Boeing as it executed a sharp 180-degree bank back across the Malay Peninsula, then climbed to 43,000 feet, well above its assigned altitude. Then it dropped. The plane weaved between Indonesian and Thai airspace, tracing the border with a precision that shocked military analysts, as if whoever was flying understood exactly where one country's radar coverage ended and another's began. By 2:22 a.m., the aircraft crossed over the northern tip of Sumatra and disappeared over the Andaman Sea. Military radar lost it, but it wasn't gone. British satellite company Inmarsat recorded 7 electronic handshakes over the next 6 hours, each one confirming the plane was still airborne. At some point after 2:40, Flight 370 turned south, heading into the emptiest stretch of ocean on the planet. The final ping came at 8:19 a.m., then silence. No distress call, no mayday, no emergency beacon. 239 people vanished into the Indian Ocean and nobody heard a sound. If this story is already raising questions you've never considered, subscribe now and hit the bell, because what we're about to get into is the part most people never hear. $150 million for nothing. What followed should make you angry. 9 countries deployed ships, aircraft, and satellites. Australia coordinated the underwater search across 120,000 square kilometers. The bill exceeded $150 million, and after 3 years of scanning, they found absolutely nothing. The initial search targeted the South China Sea, where the transponder died. Ships from 4 nations combed those waters for days. Oil slicks that turned out to be fuel from passing vessels. Floating debris that turned out to be garbage. Meanwhile, the satellite data was telling a completely different story, one that took weeks to properly analyze and even longer to act on. The plane had flown for hours after, vanishing. It was nowhere near where anyone had been looking. The search pivoted to the southern Indian Ocean, one of the most hostile marine environments on Earth. The Australian Transport Safety Bureau worked from mathematical models based on those Inmarsat pings, targeting what they called the seventh arc, a curved line where the final satellite handshake placed the aircraft. Deep-tow sonar scanned the seabed at 4,000 meters. Autonomous vehicles captured imagery of volcanic ridges, trenches, and fields of manganese nodules. Everything except a Boeing 777, and get this. In January 2017, after covering 120,000 square kilometers, the Australian, Chinese, and Malaysian governments just stopped. Suspended operations. The families were devastated. Grace Nathan, a Malaysian lawyer whose mother, Ann Daisy, was aboard MH370, told reporters she felt physically ill when the announcement came. "They're telling us they've given up on our families," she said. In 2018, Ocean Infinity tried on a no-find, no-fee basis. 8 autonomous vehicles working simultaneously for 3 months across 112,000 square kilometers. They discovered a 19th century shipwreck. They charted mountains that had never appeared on any map. They did not find Flight 370. Meanwhile, the ocean was doing what the search teams could not. Starting in July 2015, debris began washing ashore. A flaperon on Réunion Island, wing fragments in Mozambique, cabin panels in South Africa. More than 30 pieces confirmed or likely linked to MH370, scattered across thousands of kilometers by Indian Ocean currents. The wreckage proved the plane hit the water hard. But here's the catch. If debris had drifted that far, the main wreckage had to be out there somewhere. The models said they'd searched the right area. So either the math was wrong, or someone's assumptions about how that plane went down were fundamentally, dangerously mistaken. Every theory collapsed. Malaysia's final report landed in July 2018. 4 years. 495 pages. And its most definitive statement was this: the reason for the loss of MH370 cannot be determined with certainty until the aircraft is found. That is not a conclusion. That is an admission of total failure. Now, here's where it gets uncomfortable. The investigation itself was compromised from day one. Officials contradicted each other at press conferences. Flight paths were revised without explanation. Critical satellite data was withheld for weeks. Blaine Gibson, an independent American investigator who personally recovered multiple pieces of MH370 debris from African beaches, described the Malaysian government's handling as a wall of silence that only made the families suffer more. Captain Shah became the primary suspect in the pilot's suicide theory. Police examined his home flight simulator and reportedly found he had practiced a route deep into the southern Indian Ocean. But here's what most people leave out. Aviation safety researcher Simon Hardy, who spent months reconstructing Shah's simulator data, acknowledged publicly that airline pilots routinely practice unusual routes. The simulator session was not a confession. It was ambiguous at best. Every other theory fared worse. An electrical fire did not explain the controlled, precise turns tracked by military radar. Hijacking did not explain the complete absence of demands or claims. Mechanical failure did not explain why someone deliberately switched off the transponder and navigated between radar coverage gaps with expert precision. And this is the part that should terrify you. After a decade and $150 million, the official record contains no confirmed explanation for how a modern commercial airliner carrying 239 people was stolen from the sky. Not one theory survived contact with all the evidence. The families formed advocacy groups, filed lawsuits, raised funds for independent investigations, and they waited. For 10 years, they waited for someone with the right technology and the will to use it to go back to that ocean. Then someone did. What the drones are doing right now. Pay attention to what happens next, because this is the part the news isn't covering. In December 2024, the Malaysian government agreed in principle to relaunch the search. Ocean Infinity signed a $70 million no-find, no-fee contract. They only get paid if they locate significant wreckage or the black boxes. That contract structure matters. It means Ocean Infinity is burning through operational costs every single day those drones are in the water. They would not keep searching unless they believed something was findable. The first phase launched in March 2025, but was cut short by brutal seasonal weather in the southern Indian Ocean. Then on December 30th, 2025, the search vessel Armada 86-05 headed back out, carrying 3 next-generation autonomous underwater vehicles built by Kongsberg. These are not the same machines that failed in 2018. These AUVs can dive to nearly 6,000 meters, operate independently for days, and carry an array of sensors that would have been science fiction a decade ago. Side-scan sonar for wide area mapping, sub-bottom profilers that can detect objects buried under sediment, magnetometers that register metallic anomalies, high-resolution cameras with LED arrays powerful enough to illuminate the abyssal plain. Each drone builds a 3-dimensional model of the seabed in real time, transmitting data back to analysts aboard the surface vessel. The search zone this time is different. Researchers, including British aerospace engineer Richard Godfrey, spent years after the failed searches reanalyzing Inmarsat data, oceanographic drift models, and the locations where debris washed ashore. Godfrey, who had worked obsessively on MH370's data since 2015, published findings suggesting the original search focused on the wrong section of ocean. His revised crash coordinates pointed to an area along the 7th arc between roughly 33 and 36 degrees south, partially overlapping with, but extending beyond the zones scanned previously. Ocean Infinity's current operation is targeting a refined 15,000 square kilometer zone built around these updated predictions. And here's what nobody is saying out loud. In the first 2 weeks of January 2026, observers tracking the Armada 86-05's AIS signal noticed something unusual. During broad area scanning, the vessel moves in long, parallel north to south legs, roughly 15 to 20 nautical miles per sweep. Standard search behavior, but in certain sectors, the ship's pattern shifted, concentrated overlapping sweeps, tight circles. UVs redeployed to the same coordinates multiple times. Deep-sea search analysts who have tracked Ocean Infinity's previous operations, including their successful location of the Argentine submarine ARA San Juan and the bulk carrier Stellar Daisy, say this pattern is consistent with one thing: investigating a contact of interest. Then the communication stopped. Ocean Infinity had been providing periodic updates to families of MH370 victims. On January 5, 2026, those updates ceased without explanation. No new information has been shared since. The company has declined to comment publicly on the current search. The Malaysian government has released only a brief statement confirming the operation yielded no results so far, without elaborating on what the drones have or haven't detected. Now, to be absolutely clear, no official discovery has been announced, no wreckage has been confirmed found, but the convergence of signals, the altered search patterns, the operational silence, the technological leap from previous attempts, the refined search coordinates, has created a level of speculation within the MH370 research community that veteran analysts describe as unlike anything since 2015, when the first physical debris washed ashore. Richard Godfrey, when asked about the current search in a recent post on his research site, chose his words carefully. He noted that the area being scanned aligns closely with his predicted crash site, and that the technology being deployed is the most capable ever used in this search. What he didn't say may matter more than what he did. What we'd hear on that black box. If those drones have found MH370, here's what comes next, and it's almost unbearable to think about. Somewhere in that wreckage sit 2 devices designed to survive anything: the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder. The flight data recorder would contain every input made to the aircraft's controls, every turn, every altitude change, every moment the autopilot was engaged or overridden. It would tell investigators whether that southward turn was programmed into the flight management computer or hand-flown, whether the climb to 43,000 feet was deliberate, whether the final descent was controlled or a death spiral after fuel exhaustion. But here's the deal. The cockpit voice recorder is the one that haunts people. It captures the final 2 hours of audio from inside the cockpit. If someone was flying that plane deliberately, the recorder would capture their breathing, their silence, or their words. If there was a struggle, it would capture that too. If the cockpit was empty and the crew incapacitated, 2 hours of nothing but engine noise and the whisper of an autopilot flying 239 people to their deaths. Jaquita Gonzalez, whose husband Patrick Gomes served as an in-flight supervisor on MH370, has spent a decade asking a single question: what happened in that cockpit? She told journalists in 2024 that she no longer sleeps through the night. Every time the phone rings, she said, "I think this is it. They found him." There are hundreds of families like hers, spread across China, Malaysia, Australia, India, France. Parents who never buried their children, spouses who never got a body to grieve over, children who grew up without knowing why their parent never came home. The wreckage itself would answer the question that broke every theory apart. Did the plane enter the water in a controlled glide, suggesting a conscious pilot at the controls until the end? Did it dive nose first at high speed, consistent with a deliberate act? Or did it spiral uncontrolled after fuel exhaustion, supporting the theory that the cockpit was empty and the plane simply flew until it couldn't? Each answer leads somewhere different, and each answer implicates someone. Right now, the Armada 86-05 is still out there. The drones are still diving. The 55-day search window is still open, and the southern Indian Ocean still holds whatever truth sank to its floor on March 8, 2014. The rumors may amount to nothing, or they may be the first cracks in a wall of silence that has held for over a decade. Drop a comment below. Do you think they've already found it and just aren't telling us? If you're not subscribed yet, now is the time. Because if this story breaks, it will break fast, and you do not want to miss it. Your support helps us stay on the investigations that governments and corporations would rather see forgotten. Whatever those drones have captured at the bottom of that ocean, 239 families deserve to know.